let's just edit this beginning bit out. Ready? Three, two, one.
No, it's a live stream,
Bye.
sorry.
Bye.
Dear.
And three, two, one.
No, I was watching, who was it? Colbert. He had a whole
Okay.
bunch, he had muck-ups and they just kept it in. They're like, nope, we're keeping it in. And he's like,
Oh, was that
okay.
today's one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I'm forcing myself to watch him because uh I'm watching strangely I'm trying to watch journalists who are not what is it, bipartisan, so that they're not one side or the other. They're trying to remain reasonably open to both sides of the debate, but it's mostly
Yeah,
based on like Trump or America's interactions with China. And so
yeah,
um, yeah, so it's the reporting of what is occurring there is a little bit in favor of Trump's policies, mostly because
yeah.
it's not just the US that's counteracting against China now. It's like moving to more towards a global thing.
What
Um,
did you see?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry, I was
Oh,
interrupting you again.
yeah.
I'm trying to stop.
Uh, no, man. If the passion takes hold, you gotta talk.
My, br my brain just like is like, but yeah. Did
Yeah.
you see the four countries going against him?
Oops.
Like
Sorry. Huh? The four
what?
countries going against him.
Going against China. So it's America, Taiwan, Japan, and the US.
Uh, isn't that India,
They're,
Australia, the US, and Japan?
well, they're doing it in Taiwan. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
yeah. I'm
I know
assuming
they've
it
been
has to
increasing their
do with
like,
Taiwan.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know they've been like they did what is it, $7 billion weapons sales to Taiwan. Um,
yeah,
and they're trying to like be more diplomatic and stuff with their relations with them. But yeah, like I don't know, that whole thing is just it's a bit of a mess.
totally.
But the reporting on it has been reasonably on side with Trump because of that.
Yeah,
And because it's part of his political platform as well, it's starting to be a little bit favorable towards him. So I'm like, I'm gonna go watch something ultra, what is it, left or something? I'm gonna
yeah.
go
Ultra left wing.
watch Colbert, and it was weird because I was watching it and um, he he's so ultra left that he refuses to give information that's weighing evenly on both sides. So his
Yeah, yeah,
commentary on the debates and whatever is just pure hate stuff. And so I had to actually get myself into the mind state of I hate Trump before I could actually start enjoying it. Um,
yeah. It's very much it, because you've got it's very much in the vein of Fox News. So it's like
yeah, right.
they're the pro right wing side,
Yeah,
and then you've got all the liberal arts media side that are like completely anti. But funnily enough, there's very few people that are like pro Biden and pro.
mm,
Everyone's like, well, at least he's not Trump. Like that
yeah,
seems to be
yeah,
the consensus. So
yeah.
it makes it a very hard
I mean, it was yeah, exactly.
makes it very hard to win that sort of thing. Like
Yeah,
like
if
when he
there's nothing good about him other than he's not the other guy.
yeah,
That's
other than he's normal, it's like, oh, there's a normal person. Oh, that's nice.
yeah, I guess so.
You
It's
know, and but that's his but it's like you could just sub him in for anyone. And
yeah,
it's unfortunate that he was I mean, I guess he was chosen because he was so like vanilla and bland. Sorry to vanilla lovers, but he
Oh, we're gonna get
like
some hate mail coming in now. What's wrong? What's wrong with Vanilla Simon? It's the
You
best
clearly
flavor.
have not. You clearly have not had vanilla bean. You've just been using imitation vanilla. they So like they
Mm,
literally like he's kind of like just like a. It's almost like a contrast. So it's like he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to be anyone. It just needs to be a stark contrast to the other guy. So it becomes obviously he was the most straight down the road, straight and narrow, something like that, whatever the saying is.
yeah.
Um, he was the one that like fit most of the categories to fulfill that role.
Right.
But it does make me think that that isn't enough to beat Trump. Like as much as Trump got COVID and kind of shot himself in the foot,
Mm,
because he was running on this whole it's an imaginary disease thing,
yeah.
and then he got it, but then they pumped him full of steroids and stuff, and he recovered straight away, and so then he could kind of get back onto that, where it's like, oh no, it's just I feel better now. I'm glad I got COVID. I think you said a few times.
Um,
So now, have you seen this laptop thing that's come out in the last couple of days?
is that about Biden's son,
Yeah, Hunter Biden.
Hunter? I
So
haven't seen about the laptop. I've just been watching the jokes that Colbert's been making about, was it ordering cocaine or something? But yeah, anyway.
yeah,
Uh,
but it's really weird, right? This
uh,
this is this this is the real story. Right? This is the story that's been laid out by the Republicans. Hunter left his laptop in a repair shop
okay.
two
Yep.
years ago.
Getting all the cocaine out from between the keys. Yep.
Yeah, because it was damaged or something, right?
Yeah.
So he put his laptop into a repair shop.
Yep.
The owner of the repair shop is legally blind.
Okay. Good.
Now, if people don't understand what legally blind is, it's not like completely can't see. It's a certain definition of like your eyes are that bad that you are legally blind. You're not blind, but you're legally blind. Um,
Yep.
so he couldn't verify whether Hunter was the one that dropped it off. But then, after going through what's on the laptop, he took it to Steve Bannon, who was Trump's right-hand man. He was like the campaign manager, who then got busted for I think he was I can't this is where I'm failing. I can't remember. I think he got done for foreign interference. I think it was, but it was he got busted for something, and he's on bail currently.
Mm, done.
Hello again. Not for you, but we just went through something.
It was emotional.
Alien abduction.
Yeah.
um,
Sitting a bit funny in this chair now.
so yeah, I can't even remember what we're saying.
Hunter Biden's
Oh
laptop.
yeah, so this is the official story. Legally blind repairman
Yeah.
takes Hunter Biden's laptop from Hunter Biden,
Yeah.
but can't confirm whether it was Hunter Biden because he couldn't see him.
Yeah.
Discovers what's on the laptop, hands it over. Somehow Rudy Giuliani gets involved. I think he handed it to Rudy Giuliani. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, the
That's
ex
That's
New
Trump's
York.
lawyer. Yeah, the man
Right.
who's now Trump's lawyer.
Oh, that why he's so involved.
Yeah, and then Steve Bannon is now involved.
Okay.
And he's currently on bail. He's literally currently on bail after. Anyway, it's such a crazy story, right?
Sounds like a bunch of crooks.
It's so weird, right? It's like such a weird story but then they actually have pictures of Hunter Biden, like very personal pictures of just like him with his family and him in the bathtub, and then apparently there's one with him with a crack pipe.
Oh,
like
they must have done some digging to get those ones. They were hanging on to those for years, no doubt.
Yeah, but this is what's so weird, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, then the FBI is looking for it. Like now the FBI is like, no, it's not a Russian psyop. They're not trying to they're not trying to like put in false information. So they're actually now really investigating.
Okay.
But then, in the next layer below that is Hunter Biden is fucking Chinese children.
Oh, okay.
And there's videos that are going to come out.
What?
So
who's saying that?
Well, who knows? This is the problem with the internet. It's like, can you trace back to the first time it was actually said?
Yeah, right.
Like
it could be that Pizzagate thing all over again.
Well, I mean, it sounds very much like it, which is kind of why it's resonating so much with the right, because they're so invested in that.
Right.
Like, especially Trump supporters are very invested in Trump being the one that's gonna get all the pedo Satan worshippers out of the Democrats.
Oh, that's a big ask.
I mean, they've got Satan on their side, but yeah.
I mean, he'll have to lose half of the Republicans as well if they go for that kind of a purge.
But this is what I mean, though, right? So this is the state of politics in America at the moment.
Oh my God, it's a circus,
right? And it's like, but the fact that it's even a plausible thought, is just, it's absolutely nuts, right? So
yeah.
You know, there's no evidence yet for that. It's just all we found them on the laptop and we're going to release them. So maybe they just release real videos and they're thrown in jail.
Just some random pedophile with Hunter Biden's head like photoshopped on the top. It's just
like different angles. Like, you know what they did?
It's like it's stagnant image, but it's
exactly. So but it's so weird, right? It's like it's such a weird thing that's happening in the world right now.
Was he buddies with who was that guy? Jeffrey
Epstein.
Yeah, was he buddies with him?
No, but Trump was.
Oh, that's right.
The crazy thing. And this is why it just feels so much like projection.
Yeah.
Because it's like Trump is like attacking Hunter Biden for being nepotistic.
Yeah.
And getting favors from I think it's the Ukraine.
Right. Because of the oil deals or whatever.
Yeah, because of his dad's position in power.
Yeah.
Like he's literally describing his family.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're a pedo, and it's like he's got these videos of him like dancing with Epstein and like pointing at girls with Epstein. It's like it's so weird, right? It's like it's like
what was it? There was like a comic. I think it was Loonig, and it was just the whole platform was them bad, us good, and like that's basically all that's happening. Yeah, exactly. It's just
but the weirdest thing, right, is that there is no way to find the truth. There is no way for a normal human being, like who has no connection to either side, like no information connection. You might have an emotional connection, and that's telling you one's right and one's wrong. But in terms of an informational connection to these stories and to what's happening, there's no way for anyone to prove one or the other. And
unless you turn into a master hacker or go visit your psychic.
But unless everyone gets to look at the laptop and like,
That's really interesting because like the power of information, it's like yeah, everyone can have access to everything, but now if you've got enough like swaying power, you can just
If you've got a
flood
big
every
enough
platform. Yeah.
yeah, you can just override truth.
Yeah, well, it's
And
content. You just need to flood with content.
yeah, and
Um,
it's really an interesting phenomenon, and it's what is like I was thinking about today. It's kind of what's making eroding science, because before, like, we had a way of everyone knowing the truth. So
yeah,
you do studies, you test your hypothesis. If you test it enough times, it becomes a theory, and it becomes a ground truth that everyone works from.
yeah, but
Right?
not straight away. Like if we
No, no,
go
not straight up.
if we go back in history, it was always fighting the other truths that were out there, like the religious views and the cultural views and whatever. And like
No, but
over
it was
time, truth came out.
yeah, it was making them retreat, is what I meant. It's like
Okay.
it it was creating a ground truth that everyone had to agree on because it was proven. So it's like,
Yeah.
yes, apples fall for some mysterious reason.
Mm.
Like, if you shoot one photon through two slits, two photon light beams appear on the other side. It's like,
It's a wave.
yeah, it's like that's a truth. Like, it's not something that you can say, oh no, that my belief is that it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
But
right.
now they can do that. Now they go, oh yeah, but that's because like the divine spirit like guides the thing, and it just they just add all this layers on top.
Yeah. Sorry, what's the link to that one? Can I? I want to go down that rabbit hole tonight.
Just click in double slit myth. And I'm sure there'll be one.
I'm sure. I'll have to like siphon off all the porn
Yeah,
images
make sure
first.
you do it on YouTube, not just on Google.
Yeah, that's right.
But,
Jeez.
these are the crazy things, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's the subtle bending of everything.
Mm.
Like there is no longer. It's like everyone's called. I think who was saying it? I think it was Eric Weinstein was saying the thing that he finds the most annoying is that. Oh, I mean, again, I'm using hyperbole, but what he said was annoying was that people the difference between a theory and a hypothesis has become completely
Right.
abandoned,
Yeah, right.
and people are happy to say, well, that's just your theory.
Yeah.
No. It's that's your hypothesis.
Mm.
If it can't be disproven, over time it gets the status of a theory. It's like because
Yeah.
science already said there is no ground truth that you can actually, there is no ultimate thing that you can just say, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
It's like you can only go, oh, this works.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
this we tried to disprove it, but we did experiments and it actually proved it, like Einstein's theory.
Yeah.
It's like a very robust. It's become a theory. Whereas I could say I have a hypothesis that the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
But that could just be destroyed
Yeah.
within 2 or 3 experiments. So it's
Yeah. No, that's right. The word theory has been interchanged with the idea because it's theory is something that's also used in philosophy, not just science. And so
Yeah.
the actual grounding of the scientific word in theory has been kind of diluted because of the nature of philosophical theories. Whereas what a
exactly.
scientific theory is saying, this is basically a proof that is still open to falsification should tests prove it otherwise, but so far it hasn't. This is the most accurate reflection of our ability to observe the natural world.
Yeah, all of humanity's effort has not been able to disprove it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is the best idea, basically.
Yeah, whereas philosophy relies on those things like axioms, is it? I think that's the word. So
like
an axiom.
Statements of truth. Yeah.
And that's like their ground, and then everything else after that is like theories, and that's the more ephemeral stuff. There's more the mental masturbation side.
I wonder if that is exactly where it came from. That's probably a good point.
Possibly.
Like, in terms of why people are confused, because it's so prevalent in modern day speaking to just say that's just your theory, like that's just like, and then just present their idea, no matter how poorly thought out or poorly like propositioned it is. They just go, oh no, that's just your theory, and I've got my own, which is fairies make everything.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and the theory of gravity is not real, so, you know.
Yeah, it's actually fairies pulling you down.
Yeah. It's the midi-chlorian.
If they want to. If they want to, they could pull you up, but they want to pull you down.
That's right. Yeah.
And the more, and this is the problem now, like you were saying, because of the platforms some of these people have, it becomes common knowledge. And it becomes disseminated through society to such a level that there actually is competing sides now. Very much like religions. Like you start to becoming, well, I believe this set of ideas, and I believe in this set of ideas.
Yeah.
So, and there's no way for us to solve them. Like there's science. You can use science to prove or disprove this stuff. But people are so emotionally and monetarily and politically and
ideologically,
all these ideologically motivated to maintaining these structures that they don't want to test them.
Well, I guess if you've invested so much time into screaming at someone for every fault that they've made, you don't want to then be the person that puts your hand up and say, I was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It actually it stops you from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, so it sucks to be them then. So just remain unenlightened.
Except when they become the majority, and you're the poor dude who's like, no, like, genocide's not a good idea. And they're like, well, you made the mistake there, sonny boy.
Yeah.
Throw him in the fire. And, you know, it's like, that's how those things sort of happen. It's like, you just get that build-up of just, like, random ideas that are tantalizing.
Yeah, but, I mean, the funny thing is that what you're seeing from that erosion of truth is also an erosion of society in itself. You're getting a lacking of any foundation on what to believe in. Like, you know, people had religion, and that became their course of day-to-day living. They knew what they were supposed to do because whatever their faith said. But then as the beliefs in that stuff began to erode, the ideals behind why you should behave a certain way each day also eroded. And then your actual structure for holding your society together starts falling apart. And that's
because everyone's questioning. Like,
but like,
why should I believe that?
Historically, that's always the thing that happens before massive, like, war or collapse of society, or just chaos everywhere. Like, what is it? The turn of the 19th century, you had that whole relativistic ideal because Einstein had his relativity theory come out. It took hold. Then all of a sudden, like, morality became relative as well, because it was down to each person's personal perspective of their morality, and then society started breaking down, and then World War One, and
well, I think his theory was
World War Two, because his theory came out.
World War Two,
No, because he had relativity, and then special relativity came out after. I thought.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, you had the ideals of the Roman Empire time as well. I think there was that. What was the Chinese?
And you also had the
Edo period or something.
Revolution.
Oh, the French Revolution. Yeah.
Where everything was just like, we don't need our rulers anymore.
Yeah. It's chop and change.
It's just, yeah. So just because they got so out of touch and everything became, again, and again, I don't like to keep quoting Eric Weinstein, but I find him very logically consistent.
Yeah.
But he always pins it back to a lack of growth in the society.
Right.
Like, he wasn't pinning any of the other ones on it, but he was saying specifically in the American system, growth ended in the 70s. And
oh, yeah.
But he says this time and time again, and
yeah.
he's always saying, like, growth ended in the 70s,
yeah.
and that's when everyone started fudging, and people were no longer content to have their own little slice. They started, like, cannibalizing other people.
Yeah, right. Isn't that when the baby boomers took over? Isn't it? It's his pet peeve.
Yeah, that's
them and their string theory.
Yeah. But also, like, he's like, let go of the reins. You won't let go of the reins.
That's, they're not going to let go. You have to take that power.
Yeah.
I think the next generation, the Gen Xers, are going to be the ones who, like, sacrifice themselves to try and get rid of the boomers, and then the millennials will take over.
Hopefully.
And then I don't know, we're all going to be left as a bunch of introverts who are completely connected to our machines, but not so bad.
Preparing us for what society is going to be anyway.
Yeah, it's like way ahead of that curve. But that's, I mean, that's still a concern, because there will be stable nations around that. There's, like, you know, countries where they're looking like, you guys are idiots, just come move here if you're chilled out. I'm hoping Australia is one of those.
Yeah, it's just whether they can avoid the shrapnel, you know, that comes off the explosion.
Yeah, well, I'm in Malaysia at the moment, and I'm a little bit worried about war breaking out in the South China Sea, because, you know...
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be there.
No, KL's a pretty big target.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping that we remain neutral, but we'll see.
I think they'll be forced to side with America. I can't imagine them trying to remain neutral and actually having a border to the South China Sea.
Yeah.
It'll be... No,
yeah, I'm hoping it's just political maneuvering, like having the threat of war is really advantageous for political gain at the moment for both Xi Jinping and Trump. They just sit there shaking their fists at each other and go, yeah, now you should support me because there's this threat of the oppressor from the outside. I'm hoping that's all it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of, like, nothing happened with North Korea.
Right, yeah.
Like, when there was that real tension period. And nothing's happened with Iran, really.
Yeah.
But they're all very small compared to China.
Yeah, yeah.
But, and the problem with sanctions, which is what America's primary political tool is.
Yeah.
Because they have strong control over trade and the means of trade, which is the US dollar. Because they have these levers, I think it was, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's a ridiculous percentage of all transactions in the world go through New York.
Yeah. Yeah, I vaguely recall hearing that too, and just like the whole decoupling insane. Of the currencies is just virtually unheard of.
Because eventually everything has to be converted to US dollars and then back again. So it's like, if they try and do that to China, so say all the Western nations, plus some of the other Eastern blocs, and you know, you get these sort of a strong blockade like they had on North Korea and Iran
Mm.
and the USSR in the 80s.
Yeah.
If they do that, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard to not go to war,
Yeah.
because I think that will actually trigger a war rather than calm China down.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Looking at its rhetoric.
It'll just have to depend on its actual ability to finance a war.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll also depend on the country's Xi Jinping's ability to keep the country together.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Like, I think if they're going to make any show of power, it'll be in their taking of a nation. So I'm guessing it'll be Taiwan, and try and absorb that one, and then just say, "Yep, we're done now." But then
they're also
Pompeo's
trying to take
talking
the
about.
whole
Oh yeah.
China Sea. They're trying to take the whole South China Sea. Is what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah. So
think about what they did to Russia. So they just slowly crushed it, right, until it popped, and then all these little countries popped out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Which is a similar thing, because those are the fissures. It's like they're all stuck together while everything's fine, but then as you put pressure on it, it slowly starts cracking along certain lines.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what will happen. Like, you'll have different pockets start to get desperate, and then they'll start forming their own leaders, and then they'll be like, no, we're breaking away.
Yeah, we're our own nation. You deal with the war. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it ends up. Which one ends up first? Does he declare war on the world? It depends on how much you got backing, because that's the main thing. Is like, can you get everyone behind America again, a third time? Actually, it's more of a second time. But like, can you get everyone behind them to apply that pressure again? Or is there going to be a leak, where countries find the economic value of China more appealing than the freedoms and the liberalism and democracy and stuff like that. So it's like,
well, I know if I was a dictator, like a tyrant dictator, I would be very much on side with China, because that's the way you can do business well, and plus they've got money for you. But if you're actually like a government style country, then that doesn't really work. But it's just, fortunately, it doesn't seem like there's many strong countries or a strong influence of countries that are run by dictators. There's definitely plenty around that have a lot of wealth, but I don't think they're super friendly with China.
No, and the other thing is that you need we need a new manufacturing base. And that's one. Well, good luck. Like, you're almost better going to Africa.
I think, who was it that was talking
it's
about
not a country, but going to the African bloc.
in it?
Some of those videos. Have you seen compilations of those videos where it's like they're like asking geographical questions?
Oh yeah.
What's this? What country is this?
It's America. Ain't no other country.
Yeah. But anyway, what I mean is, like, we're so reliant on Chinese manufacturing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, our standard of living is predicated on that.
Well, that was one of the.
Yeah,
that was one of the things that they were noticing because of the economic downturn of this pandemic. it's actually kind of expensive to get your manufacturing out of China and into another country.
Yeah.
Where you have to like reset up infrastructure, retrain your staff, expect that you're going to go in a low manufacturing, high cost state for a while, and it's like not that many companies are all that in that great shape to do that. But because because of the tariffs, it also doesn't make much sense to stay in China either. So
yeah, it is possible to make it unfavorable, but then all you're hurting is your citizens. You're hurting your citizens as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they need to set up an alternative first.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to this interesting thing. Someone was talking about it, where what globalism did is sell out the middle class of all the rich countries, but simultaneously saying we're helping the poor of other nations.
Oh yeah.
So the whole idea was, you should be happy that 200 million people in Vietnam now have jobs, even though you've lost yours.
Yeah.
Like that's where a lot of the pullback is coming from the right. That's why you were seeing, like, before the pandemic and things like that, there was a major push to the right, mainly because of immigration and right, not just in America but throughout Europe and even in Australia with the boat people, with the boogeyman of the boat people.
Yeah.
There was this major push against, like, becoming a global nation. And they always pointed to places like Japan and who was before that? Indonesia, even. Probably Malaysia to an extent as well. That used to be a manufacturing hub. Like, if you remember in the 80s, it was always made in Japan.
Yeah. Taiwan, I think, was also another
one. That's the other one, yeah. So these places were always pointed to as, well, this is what globalism does. It spreads democracy. It spreads the Western ideology of freedom and democracy, and all these Enlightenment ideals. But then it got to China, and China took all the commerce and rejected the ideology.
Yeah.
And it's been surprisingly effective. As much as everyone was predicting it would fail, it's actually been surprisingly strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I do look at the way that they handle their propaganda and control, and it's some pretty serious, like, to coin Joe Rogan, some 4D chess. That they really do have, like, quite a few steps in place whenever they enact a plan that seems to really handle just the broad amount of deception alongside of long-term goals that are in play in order to keep rule over this country. Like, they're getting accepted into the World Trade Organization, and basically breaking every rule along the way, but knowing that they could just keep pumping out money and people would accept it.
Yeah.
And then, at the cost of its own people, obviously, to a large extent.
But again, it's this idea of growth. So while you're growing, people see the path of, like, I could be that. I can go up there. Like, it's only once the growth stops that you then have to try and work out a way to keep the people happy.
Yeah, this is why it's all part of the baby boomers problem.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just
exactly.
they're loving the bubble. They want that continual growth curve rather than stabilization.
Yeah, exactly. Which they've been maintaining through immigration and basically eating the middle class to death. It's like just slowly mining out the middle class to fuel that.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing. Like if you think of what are things that are scarce?
Morals.
What are
Oh.
can't buy those.
Yeah, you mean more
But
physical things? Oh.
Yeah, like what assets are scarce?
What were those high grade minerals
Land.
used in tech?
Yeah.
Tech development.
Yeah. Land, minerals, especially rare earths and
Yeah, the
gold
rare
and
earths.
things
That's
like
the
that.
one. Yeah.
You know, it's like all of those things are very scarce.
Mm.
You can't produce more land. I mean, you can spray sand into a bay and make islands, but you can't produce enough land basically to satiate demand.
Yeah, right.
So land will always go up in value.
Yeah.
Like there may be drops, but by the very nature of the being scarcity,
Mm.
it's always on an upward trajectory. And it's the same with gold. Unless we bring an asteroid back that's full of gold, it's getting harder to mine gold rather than easier. Like you're getting less parts per million than you were in the gold rush days in America or in China or in all these places in Australia even.
So they're finite resources.
There aren't those. Yeah, exactly. So finite resources are scarce, so they're valuable. They tend towards value over time.
Yeah.
Cash, especially fiat cash, which isn't tied to anything, is unlimited. So it tends to devaluation,
right.
which is inflation.
Yeah.
So you get these two things, like where if you hold cash, every year you're losing 3% of your wealth.
Right.
In a normal society, your band is like 2 to 3%.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously places go to like 10,000 when things go really wrong, but in a normal working federal government with a reserve bank, they tend to keep a band of inflation 2 to 3%.
Yeah.
So these things, your cash is steadily declining. Where the people who have assets, their cash is their wealth, not cash, but wealth is steadily increasing. So all the people, like the baby boomers, who have been fortunate enough not only to ride a wealth, like river, just like enormous wealth creation time, where their parents gave them houses that they probably bought for like $500, giant pieces of land.
Yeah.
Have just ridden this wealth up. Plus, they've had like an enormous amount of longevity in like the expected age of death has gone up, has skyrocketed in that period as well. So you get these you got this one generation that has sort of carried all the wealth, and very little of it has gone down to the next generations. So you end up with a massive inequality in wealth, not cash. Because I remember, even I'm only 40 or something, like, I remember hearing about a $250,000 house and going, wow, that must be a mansion.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the 80s, that was a mansion. That
Yeah.
was, oh, someone's so fancy they got a $250,000 house.
Yeah.
Like, and now it's like a tiny 1-bedroom unit.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of this slow and gradual, um, reduction in your buying power,
Yeah.
which equates with an increase in wealth
Yeah.
for people who have assets.
Yeah.
Because if your buying power is decreasing,
Mm.
the scarce things are increasing in
Yeah.
wealth, in value.
Yeah. So then tying that back to the global politics side of it, you have your primary producers who are running on a limited set of resources. You'll then have the tech developers, which is kind of where China's made most of its money through secondary industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the consumer end through the big nations, through the higher wealth nations. But yeah, it's just that's the other thing a person was saying. It's that once you end up with that huge disparity between the earnings of your like CEOs and your average worker, where it's like no longer 20 times the salary, but more like 200 times the salary differences. That's also a great sign of collapse. Like that's one of the things that occurs right before collapse as well.
Mm.
Which again, it's like I need to find the stable countries outside of that, and because otherwise we're looking at a nation like China, there are many countries just actively cancelling their manufacturing in that country and moving out. India is a place where they're talking about this is a place with a giant number of people and a pretty decent education system, plus a democracy that would be able to actually handle that upgrade of the influx of manufacturing that goes on there that would need.
Well,
to
I know
go
Bangladesh has these. Like they do a lot of clothing and stuff.
Yeah. There's and like what were we doing in Australia where all our tech support was getting outsourced. I mean, these
Philippines mostly.
It's Philippines, okay, yeah, but these are skilled individuals. There were a bunch in India as well. I don't actually know the numbers though.
Yeah,
but it's showing a sign that like that country China is then looking at a great loss in its income generation. And then that's
hopefully.
Hopefully.
But the thing that scares me with that is when does it become economically more beneficial to go to war?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Right. It's like you're poking the bear here.
Yeah, it's like, will it go down? And that's what I was saying with the pressure. It's like, are you going to crush it and it's going to just sprinkle out like Tibet and Hong Kong again and Mongolia and it's like, is it going to slowly break down to the provinces again? Or is it, is its one last hurrah going to be, well, we're just going to kill everyone, or at least attempt to? And in that, not wanting to lose face and not wanting to see itself as weak.
Yeah.
Will it just push the button?
Yeah.
Will it just go, oh well, if China's not going to be here, none of you are going to be here.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like a 6,000-year-old nation, right? Like that.
Yeah, it goes back a long way. Yeah.
Like it's one of those ones that are so continuous. They always point to this. Whenever I watch documentaries on it, they always point to this there's like this parchment that has dots on it, and every year someone adds a dot to this parchment, and it's got 6,000 dots on it from going back into antiquity.
Right.
And it's this idea of a continuous consciousness of being this country.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to break. Like if you think of
Oh yeah. I mean, like Australians don't have much of a cultural identity, but you like Americans do, and they're only 500 years old. Europeans absolutely do, and it extends way back beyond their nationalities. Even it's like it's going back to
back to when there were tribes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like if you think of the Gauls and the
Well, yeah. I mean, like
the
romance behind the Vikings, and the Goths and This
even the ancient Greeks and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, the difference is that they're not extant. Like they don't exist anymore.
No.
They're just a romanticized ideal that we follow.
Yeah.
Like the consciousness is still there, but it's people that are dead. Like they invented the ideas.
Yeah.
But they no longer exist as a nation. Like
No.
You've got Greece, but you don't have
but-
ancient Greece.
No,
Like
exactly.
you've got Egypt, but you don't have ancient Egypt. Like you've got Mexicans and South Americans, but you don't have the Aztec and the what's the names?
No, that's right.
Aztec and
The Mayans.
Mayans. Yeah, the Mayans and the Aztecs. You don't have these nations anymore, but you still can access the ideas.
Yeah.
And
whereas like things like what is it, Taoism and
Confucius. And,
Confucianism.
The I Ching and
that's still like everyday life for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been continuous. Right, that's the difference.
Yeah.
So it's that they still have stories about the Buddha coming, like some guy bringing back monkey magic, basically, like where the guy travels.
Yeah.
Is it Journey to the East? I think it is called. Journey to the West. That would be Journey to the West. When they go, the monk goes, the hermit goes to India.
All right.
Did you ever read that book?
No.
It's pretty fascinating.
I watched Monkey Magic. That was my.
There's a lot less flying on clouds, but it's very is catalogy a word?
Look, everything's breaking down, Simon. There are no truths anymore, so yes.
Yeah, I feel so stupid sometimes. Like when I watch, like old people talk. Like,
yeah.
Did you see that video that I posted on the Discord?
I didn't watch it. I saw your comment about it, but I didn't watch it.
Just watch like 10 minutes of it.
Oh, really?
And just realize how poor in language you are.
Well, strangely, and this is not a patriotic stance that I'm taking, but I was thinking about the Australian national anthem, and just looking at the. I think one of the students was playing it the other week, so it was possibly going through my head. But anyway, like the actual language used in crafting that national anthem, the sheer amount of.
Come from a land down under.
Yes.
Copyright strike.
No, but I mean, I was just thinking, like, when I saw some bees around, I was thinking, oh, my home is girt by bees. But, like,
Good.
Yeah, but like, just even the way that it would have crafted language back then was just the sheer vocabulary on it.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I do think part of that is because of globalization, not necessarily because of a reduction of language skill, but because a much wider audience is trying to communicate with one another who are not necessarily English as a first language. Like, living in Malaysia, I've grasped a whole bunch of new words that are not English, but are used very interchangeably in sentences.
Yeah, but it's also like we're losing descriptors, mainly.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, that was always one of the great things about, well, it's not only what made Shakespeare awesome. We're getting way off what I was talking about before, but it's not only what made Shakespeare awesome, was his ability to speak in different descriptors, like, and just string them together.
Yeah.
But we're losing those so rapidly that a lot of times people can only describe something as one word.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best things about the English language is that you've got like so many words for one thing.
Yeah.
And they all have slightly nuanced meaning.
Yeah.
And you can use them at slightly different times. And it creates a much more interesting and, rich meaning than just sort of...
Well, that was one of the things that, what's his name, Lex Friedman was complaining about. Is like he has all these incredible ideas, but then he has to like use language as a way of conveying them, and he's like, I'm not so good at that, so I'm learning how to do that better.
and failing, but this is this is straight out of 1984. I just realized.
Really?
Newspeak.
All right.
It's the idea that you deprive a population of its language so much that it loses the ability to formulate rebellious ideas.
Right.
So, you imagine if you couldn't express a negative emotion.
Right.
In words.
Right. I feel bad. Yeah.
What if you couldn't say that? That's what I mean. It's like,
right. You just get
what
angry.
If you didn't have those?
Yeah.
What if you didn't have words for those?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's going with, and that's how that's how the fictional government was controlling the population by making them lose their language.
Yeah.
To a point where they can no longer describe a rebellion.
Yeah, right. Well, then I'm definitely fighting the power because I'm trying to run emotional intelligence courses at my school where we have that set of 6 core emotions or 4 core emotions, and then from each of those have like multiple layers of different descriptors of each one of those. So it's like, I'm feeling happy. Oh, I'm feeling joy. I'm feeling delight. I'm feeling excitement. I'm feeling love.
Yeah.
I'm feeling compassion. I'm feeling grateful. Whatever. And then like trying to get each student to understand what the difference is between them, and then like using those to express themselves to other students so that they like, at least have a slightly better emotional vocabulary that they can use to describe themselves, how they're feeling.
Yeah, because imagine if you only knew the word happy, and you just put a blanket over all of those different descriptors.
Yeah.
And just said happy for every single one.
Well, I mean, that's what it's like if you try and do counseling with a 5-year-old. It's like, how are you feeling? Yeah. Good?
Yeah.
Is there times when you're not good? Yes? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
exactly.
They just don't have the words for it, and so they're like, but what happens is that they end up acting it out. And so you end up with them just like trying to stab each other with a pair of scissors, when what they're actually doing is feeling frustrated because you're not getting all the right coloring pencils that they want, that kind of thing. But because they're completely unable to express how they're feeling, it comes out through action. So if you were to act as a government and suppress people's ability to express themselves through words, it's going to come out through actions instead, which is...
You get riots.
Yeah, basically.
And people dissenting authority.
Yeah.
And saying they should defund the police. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. The people who knew how to articulate the frustrations of the people were like, don't supersede these riots with all lives matter and etc. Like, stick to this one message and use that as your platform for generating like actual policy change. But then you had the angry mob masses underneath that just smashing buildings and looting.
It's freaky, yeah. And it is very much like that. Because if you talk to people now, it's a different experience than before. There's a lot less language used. And But I'm serious. Go back and.
It's probably why we're only
that.
getting like a few views on this thing. Most people looking at what their words mean. Sorry, viewers, I love you.
All four of you.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it? I was watching the Midnight Gospel again. He's like, I'm doing this for you, Todd, or whatever his name is, my one subscriber. Love you, man. Dear.
Yeah, no, it's a hard one, and they have there's not much remedy for that besides education, because it's like when you lose languages, like we're losing heaps of languages. You're literally losing windows into the world. Like you're losing a perspective.
Like Windows 95 or?
Yeah, man. The best Windows.
Yeah. The stable one. Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're losing a different perspective.
Yeah.
That the world will never be described that way again. Like, have you seen that not writing?
No.
It's like a they make webs of string and put knots along the strands at different intervals and different layers and stuff. And no one's been able to. They found all these things, but no one's been able to decipher them.
Oh, it was a language.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, sorry, that's what I was talking about. It's a written language, but using knots.
Wow. Give that to the blind people. See if they can.
Well, maybe it was maybe they're all blind. I don't know, but it's such a weird thing. It's like cuneiform and stuff. It's just like stabbing clay.
Yeah, right.
So they're just stabbing clay, and in different like angles, and
Is that where they got that thing about stringing words together? Yeah, anyway.
that was not funny.
Oh, snap. Yeah, we're crushing it with the humour.
Yeah. All you string files out there. But yeah, they there's that other one. There's only like 3 people or something. It's something ridiculous. They do a whistling language.
Right.
They like speak in whistles.
Okay.
And it was used because I think they lived on a cliff or something like that, or they had big areas basically.
Right.
And it was just a way to communicate.
Isn't that that some of the indigenous races in Australia do some of that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think because
I was thinking this one's I think is in Spain or something.
Right.
It's like it's a small village that used to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Weird. I mean, I'm assuming it's like part of a R2D2 certainly used it as well.
He was. Well, you know, C-3PO had it as well.
Yeah, they're both from that same small village.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was fluent in over 3 million forms of communication.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just sad to see that like degradation of humanity and then the way it's spilling out, because like mostly what people want is fairly simple stuff. Like it's not that hard to keep people reasonably happy. But when you destroy language, you destroy then the ability to communicate that, like the internal world. Like I remember you telling me a story about, I think it was you were talking to a Thai monk who was like trying to describe to you some of the processes of mind, like some fairly deep intellectual or philosophical or even pragmatic like parts of the Buddhist path. But it was like coming through Thai and very broken English.
And we had who was the American monk? The Asian American?
Tankema?
Yeah, Tankema.
Okay.
So he was the only interpreter, and he can't really speak Thai that well.
Right.
So he could understand, but he couldn't interpret it
right
back to English properly.
Right.
That was literally like pantomime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, that's trying to convey a fairly deep message that can have fairly profound impact on a person's like outlook on life and the way that they might develop themselves and their ability to create contentment and fulfillment in their life. And if you strip all of that away and just like sell people useless crap year in, year out, then you're stripping away that satisfaction, and all that replaces that is just frustration, because the world is a miserable, suffering place to live. And the only, like, I think we discussed this last week, like the only way to overcome that stuff is through that internal shift. It's like,
I thought that was going to bring up our first sponsor.
Oh, sorry, who?
Xanax.
Just pop two. Oh dear. But it's you're taking away that ability to find internal happiness, and then without that, and with the very nature of existence being pretty crappy, you're just getting people that are frustrated, and that's it's not leading anywhere good. I mean, unless you're really controlling government that can crush the spirit of the people and keep everyone in line, you're just going to lose your way of existence, your way of being.
Yeah, kind of like a pressure pot, I guess. You just get that. Yeah. The intense emotions that are bubbling can only be contained by a strong pot. You can only.
Yeah.
And if the pressure builds too much, the integrity fails of the pot, so it explodes.
This is our second sponsor, Canbrook. Pressure cooker.
But not with Canbrook.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay. This is a complete total aside, but I saw it and it just made me laugh yesterday. We were out driving, and there was a delivery company whose name was Probably. And I said, probably the best delivery company around.
that is awesome.
It's like, that is not a selling platform. So of course I was making the jokes to Ramiro. I was like, what is it?
Your stuff will probably come.
Sort of dental care. Like, if you take that. Who knows? Health insurance. So it's just like, probably the best delivery system. Yeah. Oh dear.
That is amazing.
Yeah. I thought.
I wonder if that's just a translation thing,
or like just some sort of layered genius going on there.
Yeah, we'll go viral with this one.
Yeah, because
someone will find it and put us on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, it might have just been. I didn't actually bother looking them up afterwards. It might just be one of those weird kind of detailing that they put on their car, but it was a van, and it did carry that logo on a few of its sides, so
that's hilarious.
Had to have a bit of a laugh about that. And oh my goodness, the other aside, which we can just do before we probably have to jump into the D&D wrap up. I was watching. I was watching the.
Every time you say probably, that's all I'm going to say. Look at that marketing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Like, is he a genius? Yeah. It's probably the best marketing out there. Yeah. What was it? Joe Rogan talking. I finally sat down and watched the half of the Joe Rogan talking with Mike Tyson interview.
Which one? The second one?
Yeah, his recent one.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's there going, what's that thing where you like get an erection when you think about killing someone? I'm just like,
It's orgasmic.
It's like, but part of me, I don't know, to segue into D&D,
Yeah.
when my giant fighter character is just scoring those natural 20s,
Yeah.
I get it, you know.
Yeah. You're like,
Excuse me, guys, just gotta turn off the mic for a second.
like,
Oh God! Oh, dear. Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about D&D then. As the wrap up, how was that last one? A bit more of a
what did we do again?
slower episode, I think. So you left the catacombs
Yes.
after defeating the demon, and
Yep.
went back to find the Black Tower
I destroyed.
incapacitated, and have now. You went up to Amara's old place,
Oh, yep.
and then made your way down to the worst set of undead creatures ever, and then
Oh, yeah.
made it to the gates of
Of the
the
graveyard.
city of the dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that was some pretty seriously bad rolls. From
I was so
from
disappointed.
Discord. Yeah, that was consistently horrible rolling.
But I couldn't even hit Esmeralda. Like I thought
Yeah.
I would knock Esmeralda out because you guys just abandoned her. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna knock her out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'll place these guys around to like start
Yeah.
wearing you guys out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ding,
Yeah.
ding,
Boy.
ding.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know V has a pretty high AC for a sorcerer.
19. Yeah.
Yeah, that's equal to my fighter.
Yeah, it's because he did.
I think I don't actually
chose
know.
the draconic
Uh,
path, so it's I think they start with a base 14 or something.
oh, okay, so it's leathery
And
and
then they
tough.
get, yeah, and then they get their dexterity bonus and any magical. I don't know if I've given him braces
Yeah,
of protection or
Yeah, I
something.
think he got
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, so it's just
Yeah, he's a tank. So I'll hide
It's
behind
pretty
him.
tough.
I'll strap him to my shield.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just really interesting. Like it's amazing how roles affected the outcome so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like obviously every encounter is designed. I mean, I could design an encounter to kill you,
Sure.
but you know, any DM can. There's no point.
Yeah.
But you try and get it sort of
Yeah, the challenge
just a
rating's
little
there.
bit under or just a little bit over, just to sort of like really fight them.
Do you
And that thing had a
do you
that thing
play
had a
test any
challenge
of it?
rating. No,
Okay.
that thing had a challenge rating of 8.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, each one of those guys that popped up had a challenge rating of 4.
Oh my god, we
So I
destroyed
was
them.
like, so I was like, oh, this should be like fairly decent.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I say I don't play test, I play test in my head. Like, I run a few rounds in my head where I go,
Right.
okay, so, you know, Prince can do 30 damage roughly,
Mm.
like, Esmeralda can do, you know, 20 to 30. V, if he gets really good with his spells, he can probably, like a fireball can do 30 plus.
Mm.
But it, you know, I'm going to spread them out enough so you can't just like
Yeah.
vaporize all the small ones.
Yeah.
And you know, so I do that, but
Yeah.
I don't do playtest in terms of like, and then it's this guy's turn. What is he going to do?
Oh, you shouldn't need to go that far into it, but I mean, because the challenge
Well, I mean-
ratings should like there are tables for that will say your players are
Yeah.
at this level. There's this many of them. This should be the challenge rating of your encounter.
Yeah, I don't really use that in
Oh.
sense, but I do go. I know in my head what you guys have fought and what
Yeah.
challenge rating they were roughly, and
Yeah.
I know what the outcome of that fight was.
Yeah.
So then I have a band in my head of what challenge ratings to give you.
Yeah, right. No, we completely destroyed that lot.
It was embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like each one of them had like an extra attack because they could go reckless, which is like
yeah.
normally a barbarian
Berserker.
trait. Yeah, and the main guy, if he hits you with his reckless attack, does 2d8 necrotic damage.
Okay. Yeah.
On top of another of 1d10 plus 4.
All right. Jesus.
So like, what's that? Like 16, 26, 30 damage.
Yeah, that's averaging 17 damage.
Yeah, with one attack, and then he has two other attacks that are just 1d10 plus 4.
So
and he had +7, and he had +7 to hit.
Yeah, which is all my guy gets as well.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this should be...
Yeah.
And he had like 120 hit points and like 17 armor class, and I was like, he's a pretty tough guy. Like,
yeah.
You know, he's not...
Basically my character in those kind of stats. 3 attacks, pretty decent amount of damage, pretty decent armor, plus can summon other dudes, and that by rights should have destroyed at least one or two of us.
Yeah, it should have been a threat.
But yeah, what did you get? Like 2 hits out of 9 or something?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was consistently like that.
Yeah.
So I think we had 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And I couldn't for the life of me hit 3 times.
Yeah, I think
so bizarre.
I think you should just like if it's doing that in order to try and break the algorithm of it, just do like 3 rolls at once. So just roll 3d20 and then just do your normal additions.
But does that just add it up, or does it?
It does, but it still gives you the base roll. So you'll roll.
Oh, does it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll detail out what each roll die is, but then it will total it.
That's a good idea to try.
Yeah, because
it's really weird.
Yeah, because it's fairly unlikely in those ones that it rolls 3 numbers below 10.
Yeah, and statistically, like that was just such a weird fight.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were fairly normal.
Yeah.
I thought, like.
Yeah, I missed the number, but I hit a couple as well.
Yeah. Whereas, like, all the rolls I've done, and even going back into fights, it's been a running gag that, like, I haven't been able to roll very well.
Yeah.
And it's a very strange thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a couple times where it seemed to save all the good rolls up for a boss, and then when there was boss fight, it was just pound town. But of late, they've been pretty bad.
It's really
for the characters that you're bringing in.
Like even that demon that you guys were fighting.
Yeah.
That thing should have like decimated you guys.
Yeah.
Like that was meant to be a like. That was meant to be like a serious fight. I mean, it still ended up being a serious fight.
Yeah.
But it was meant to be really serious. It could have been like fatality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. One total death kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, those certainly my other game that I was playing, that it was about at that level, maybe a little bit lower than that level where we did lose our first party member. Just the combat was too intense for too long, and we couldn't get to them. Didn't have enough potions, no more spells slots available. It's like they were failing death throws.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very anyway, it's very strange. I might try what you say and try that, because I always thought it just added the numbers up and didn't just show you what the numbers were. So
just because I've had bouts of that too, where it's just like 1, 2, 1, 1. What's going on?
I wonder if it's just pseudo random, and that's why it's like skewing.
That's why I think it's good to to try it separately, or to try a different style of rolling.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
On that, I was thinking too to give my character a phobia of the undead, because so far is
role-playing it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the first time we saw ghosts, it was just run, and then pretty much any encounter with undead so far, I'm doing the same thing. So,
well, I'm happy to cripple you.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? You know, it's not like you win D&D ultimately. If he dies, I just start a new character.
And it's also like, what's the point of trying to max your character.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a stats and strats game. It's a bit more role play and have fun.
Are you enjoying having the armor?
I don't know what it does so much yet. We've not really had a proper downtime session to test the armor out. And I also don't know what AC it is, so don't know yet. But other than that, it's a cool looking thing. Like, it's just this complete, Thor style armor that just lives around the body.
Yeah.
But I don't fully know what it does yet, which is something to bring out. And V's certainly happy to sit there playing with the iPad. It's just like, can I turn that one?
Yeah. You're like, Stop hitting yourself, man.
Especially when I ran away. It's like, can I turn him around? But yeah, no, the characters are pretty well set up. I'm playing the Perth group hopefully tomorrow again.
Cool.
Which is, I think, one of the rare occasions where we do 2 weeks running. But
that's
yeah,
good. If you get a bit of momentum, it seems to be work.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering. How much further have we got in your game?
Like till at least level 20.
Jesus, what? Don't we win before then?
Oh yeah, no, this part's gonna end soon.
All right.
If you guys do the right thing.
Yeah.
But this is like, so when I first wrote this, the overarching story, I was like, oh man, this is cool. So, yeah.
Okay, good. Alright, so we can invest more time.
Unless you want it to end soon, you can just always quit. But
No. Well, changing the what is it, the martial style to the battle master has made the character more interesting now, because otherwise it was just, what fighters do, they just kind of hunker down as being the meat wall, and it's like, can't do too much.
You can say that about everyone. It's like, ultimately D&D requires a lot of role playing.
Yeah,
otherwise,
I guess so.
Because it's like, if you're relying on mechanics to make you happy,
yeah, true.
There's only so many mechanics.
Yeah.
It's like look at V's character. He fires, what's the name?
Magic missile. Yeah.
Look at Esmeralda's character. She's like, it's mechanics in D&D are a supplement to the actual role playing of D&D.
Yeah, right.
Which is what I understand now, rather than when I was a kid. It's like, before it was like, what stats do my character have, and what cool things can I do with them? Now it's like, what cool fantasy ideas and experiences are there?
Yeah.
Like, that's much more what makes me enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess so. And we have the opportunity to not actually have to fight everything and can...
Yeah, I mean, right now, you guys are
but
right at the pointy end of the adventure.
Yeah, but we've managed to negotiate our way around a lot of stuff rather than like...
Yeah, and that's the best bits, I think. It's like...
Yeah, for sure.
It was kind of like literally the beginning of the adventure. Unfortunately, everyone, including myself, was a bit new.
Rusty.
We hadn't played in a while. Yeah, rusty. So the scenarios I'd set up, I didn't sort of execute correctly, so you guys sort of did the wrong things.
All right.
In terms of the storyline.
Right.
Because there was much more. It was much more a mystery adventure.
Okay, detective style.
Yeah, and there was a timer and stuff. With all the guys that were going crazy and things like that. That's why, basically, you ended up in Golden Fields.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that you guys should have already been solving happened while you were away.
Right. Right.
So
yeah.
And that's why, Untersonnen's gone.
Yeah.
Like, he was... There was that's why I had Kim drop with that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
right.
like
Yeah, right.
so it's like these were story threads that I had written,
Yeah.
but they were far too complicated and far too narrow for people that had just started playing D&D again
Yeah,
after a while. So it's
Yeah.
like it ended up everyone was resting on their memories of blood and glory. You know, so it's like
Yeah.
hopefully the next bit, once we finish this arc,
Yeah.
the next one will become a bit more like that.
Character development-y stuff.
Yeah, because I don't want to give anything away to you, but it's going to become very open, is what I can say.
Right. Well, stay tuned, listeners, to Simon's other podcast of his D&D channel, which is called what again?
Double Trouble D&D.
Double Trouble D&D. I'm signing up.
Oh, you finally got it.
No, I haven't. I haven't looked. I haven't found it. Yeah, I didn't.
Got the name out of it.
Yeah. It's like, whoa.
It's like marketing.
Yeah.
If I can get 3 more people over there. Yeah, no.
Yeah, cool. So I'll just watch it and we'll just work out a little deal where like my character gets a few extra better items and stuff. Yeah, awesome. Cool.
You'll actually learn about your armor there if you watch it. That's what I've been creating over the last like 3 weeks.
All right. Oh, nice.
Along with like the alchemist and stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, anyway, we've dragged this on for a little bit, so I should probably wrap it up shortly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm on 3%, so it's good.
All right. Make
Good
sure
timing.
like and subscribe.
And put the little bell thing on and comment.
Oh yeah. Or don't comment.
And just
because I
and
don't
just
read
leave.
them.
I think there's like a little looping thing that you can do. So if you just put this on 24 hours.
Oh yeah. Get our views up. Help us make
Go
money.
to sleep. Come back on. Yeah.
Any large businesses watching, we're open to sponsorship.
Yeah, man. What, Pembroke and Xanax.
I don't know if I would actually endorse Xanax without a free lifetime subscription. No.
I'm pretty sure if they're like, here's $1 million, you're like, yum, Xanax.
Yeah. Who would you want as a sponsor?
D&D.
Oh, D&D Beyond.
Well, not
Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're the target audience of Wizards of the Coast. Well, we are, but I don't know if like this podcast is.
Oh yeah. You should play Magic the Gathering Arena online.
Yeah. We do a D&D recap every episode.
That's true.
So.
Yeah.
Who else?
Discord.
Yeah, Discord would be an awesome one. I don't know, I can't think of anything that we're actually talking about that has a product attached to it. Which is why we're not.
I would happily receive money from China.
Yeah? Do you want me to have a positive view?
Yeah. But
Republicans, Democrats, I'm open up to
I was going to say I'd have to take equal amounts from each different nation and party,
yeah.
just so that I can remain neutral to each. But the sum would have
Happy
to be
for
quite
YouTube to sponsor us.
Shout out to YouTube.
Yeah.
You guys should try it out sometime. Alright, anyway.
Yeah, cool, dude.
Catch you next week.
Yeah, sweet.
All right.
See you later.
See you.